Hey, well, good afternoon, everybody. Very, very much appreciate you all joining us today. So we're talking about using process automation for a digital transformation of your transfer credit evaluation. It's a topic that has been all the buzz. We've been sharing kind of this story with quite a few colleges and universities around the country, and the demand to do these webinars has been quite high. So we want to keep trying to accommodate that. And so, with that, just a couple things we want to talk about. So for the webinar itself, we're going to have everybody in a listen only mode. But we definitely encourage you to use the chat feature where everybody's kind of chiming in and saying where they're dialing in from today. Please use that to pose questions. You can also raise your hand just to kind of, throw it out there to, give us any, kind of alert that you want to ask a question. We'll use the Q&A feature to ask questions. And then, in terms of like audio settings, if you need to adjust things up, just make sure you can, use that to get the audio volume up to where you can hear. But I think everybody should be able to hear us just fine. So with that, we'll kind of jump into some introductions here more specifically. Again, I'm Kevin Mullen. I am the Director of Sales for our Higher Education Division at ProcessMaker. I've been with a few different companies in this space, on the document management side, and then also on the procurement side, all serving higher education over the last 9+ years. So, met many of you, in person at various events through the years, I bet, and enjoy, those conversations each and every time. But this really is not about me. This is definitely about Joy Youngman, who is our presenter today, and I'll give you a little bit of background on Joy. So, she joined ProcessMaker earlier this year. She's our product manager for the higher education division. She has 25 years of experience in higher education, both working at an institution and then also, on the kind of the vendor side here, the ed tech side that we're on here now. But she's worked in the institutional setting doing enrollment and, admissions operations, financial aid, and IT enterprise applications. And then again, on the vendor side, helping hundreds of institutions, working with data integration type solutions, document management. We've worked together in the past at companies, so her and I know each other quite well, in workflow automation and scores of other areas of just helping institutions with their digital transformation. So I'll let Joy really kind of give, a little bit of, add on to that background, and then she's going to take us through this digital transformation of the transfer credit evaluation that you're all exploring today. So with that, Joy, take it away.
Thank you so much. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see such a large crowd today. So that makes me really happy. Thank you for joining us. So today, what we're going to talk about is transforming a process that really requires a lot of different type of screens and user interactions and workflow approvals, email notifications, and more, into what can be a repeatable, measurable process that can significantly improve the experience for your students. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about ProcessMaker. I'm going to talk a little bit about what EDUCAUSE says about digital transformation. We'll talk about the expectations of today's transfer students and a geographically diverse workforce. We'll talk in terms of digital process automation and using the transfer credit evaluation as an example, but we're going to show how this can be turned into an electronic, digitalized process, and then we'll wrap up with some additional information about a platform like ProcessMaker and how it is used in hundreds of institutions and hundreds of different processes across multiple departments. So in terms of ProcessMaker, we were founded in 2000. We had our first higher education customer in 2011, which was they were PeopleSoft on the core backend. In 2019, we partnered with Ellucian, and Ellucian we're a premier platinum partner with Ellucian as their workflow. So if you are do we have any Ellucian customers on the call today? Let us know in the chat if you're using Ellucian, or maybe if everybody just kind of drop in what student information systems you are using. But regardless, we have about 200 a little over 200 universities using ProcessMaker today. And we've recently made a lot of investments. We raised capital last year and made an investment in higher education. That's kind of how I came to be on this particular role here at ProcessMaker. All right. When I joined coming out of higher ed, so I worked twice for the same institution, about 10 years apart. The first time doing enrollment, technology, enrollment management, operations, implementing document management systems there, and implementing data integration platforms. And so then I worked at different vendors, took a trip back into higher ed as the director of enterprise applications, where my team managed 40 different enterprise software applications and did integrations to the core student information system. But when I came to ProcessMaker, I took a look at their mission and vision and purpose and said, I can relate to that as someone coming out of higher ed. So we say that our mission is to empower change makers. I'm a change maker. You're a change maker, obviously, if you're thinking about making some sort of change. But we like to simplify the way custom business processes are built and run. So transfer credit is just one example of a custom business process. And our vision is that there's always a better way. And we want to do that because we need all of us in higher ed and on the vendor side really want to make every second count. So, and we enable change makers to build and automate complex enterprise level application or processes in order to make every second count. So what is a digital process management platform? So it's what we do here at ProcessMaker. We are a digital business process management platform where you can design and build any automated process for any department or any system. It's what's called a low or a no-code platform, so that you can build these compelling user experiences with either online forms or data entry screens, or you might be able to capture approvals and this can create dashboards, create notifications that go by email. And really the intent is that it crosses multiple systems and people in various departments around your campus. And because the platform actually performs the task, so it's not just designing something and building a swim lane diagram, the platform itself performs all the tasks. It allows you to convert processes from offline manual processes to online automated and fully auditable processes. So digital transformation. So EDUCAUSE, I am a huge fan of EDUCAUSE, and they talk in depth over the last couple of years about digital transformation. And in 2020, the pandemic forced many of us in higher education to move to providing services fully remote. And so for many, the institution I was at the time, it meant taking a lot of the forms that were paper, or maybe they were a downloadable PDF, and converting them to some type of online form. Maybe it was a fillable form or Google form. And I had a question. Oh no, that's something else. Sorry about that. So during the pandemic, we were asked to put about 50 different forms online, and we took a look at the tool set that we had in place, and we determined that Qualtrics was was the easiest thing for us to implement at that time for our online forms. But a lot of other institutions did Google Forms or FormStack or any number, Adobe, DocuSign, but at the end of the form being filled out, a lot of times that's where the automation ended, right? So EDUCAUSE would call that digitization. It's changing from the analog or a physical form to some sort of digital form. And it allowed us to kind of digitize those forms and then organize the information rather than somebody downloading it and signing it and then emailing it back. The next step in what they call the transformation, or I call a maturity spectrum here, is what they call digitalization. So it's using digital technologies to transform individual institutional operations. So automating processes, streamlining processes. So At the end of those Qualtrics forms, the student or the faculty or staff fills it out, and then it kind of a lot of times would just email the results to someone, or you could go in, on a regular basis and log into the platform and download things in a CSV file. So, but that still meant that in the background, the approval processes or the processing of that request would still have to be done by a person. We'd have to rely on a person to remember to follow all the approval steps, or remember to send someone else reminders to finish something. And so it's that moving from that kind of workflow, if you will, that's in someone's head, or maybe might be in documentation, procedure manuals, moving along this is to use digital technologies to transform the operations, right? So it's to put that true automation behind the forms and the screens, or the process, the workflow, so that it's streamlined, documented, and audited, so that every transaction going through the process conforms to that process, and it of course complies with the requirements, especially if it's something that has to be audited, either if you're ISO 27001, or maybe your your financial aid audits. If a process touches something that's auditable, you want to make sure that you're doing those processes on a platform that can capture all of those steps and capture the information for those audits. And then finally, a digital transformation, EDUCAUSE says, is a series of shifts that transforms the institution's operations, and the strategic direction, and of course the value proposition for that student. So it's a series of shifts, a series of processes that get automation, that kind of gets you going as a campus on a true digital transformation. So what we do then is enable those change makers like you to build and automate those complex enterprise level processes in order to make every second count. And for your transfer student, every second does count. They've lived in for decades in a digital world, and they have expectations of immediate feedback from their requests. They're likely either uploading their transcript to you, they're having them sent electronically through the clearinghouse or parchment, and they expect that those response times from you are going to have similar automatic responses and turnaround times. Often, as we all know, that maybe someone's decision to attend, maybe they're waiting on transfer credit to be applied because it might impact how much money they're eligible for in financial aid. They may be waiting to register for upcoming classes because the course they're transferring in might be a prerequisite. But all of those things, which gets, is a customer service, a student service task, but is also helping us, get to our enrollment goals, really. Any delays in this transfer credit process really causes problems for both our new enrollees and our returning students. I read with ACRO that there's this new concept that they call a swirling transfer student. So it's a student that moves in and out of your institution, bringing transfer credit, which needs to be evaluated. So maybe they go home and they attend a local institution or an online institution, they're transferring that information back to you. So I've got a little video that kind of talks about some of the challenges that we're seeing in the market today. So let me play this.
For transfer students who are making decisions on which university to attend, every second counts. Universities using digital process automation are able to provide transfer credit evaluations in days, not weeks. Jane wants to attend an online program to complete her bachelor's degree. She has applied to 2 universities across the country with new online nursing programs. She requests her transcripts to be sent electronically to each institution. The transcripts arrive at Western Coastal University, but it takes a few days to process them in the admissions office, and the staff must manually review all transcripts, find the correlating course numbers and course descriptions, and then email each of the courses to the appropriate faculty in the various academic departments for equivalency determination. It's summertime, and many faculty are not teaching and not in touch with day-to-day operations. The transfer evaluation specialist has to send several emails reminding the faculty to evaluate the courses, and often the process takes 4 to 6 weeks. In the meantime, Summerlin University, which uses ProcessMaker's automated transfer credit process, has already received the transcripts. They are imported directly into a system that uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to extract the coursework, match the courses, and route the unequated courses to the appropriate faculty. They open the email on their phone and select the equivalent course. If faculty do not respond in a timely manner, reminders are sent to nudge them along. Within the week, all courses are equated. The system sends Jane a transfer credit report, letting her know which courses will transfer. The Summerlin admissions counselor follows up within the hour to review the report and helps Jane take the next step for enrollment at Summerlin University. Jane still hasn't heard from Western Coastal University, but decides to go ahead and enroll at Summerlin University. Help your transfer students have a similar student experience. Visit ProcessMaker.com to learn more about automating the transfer credit process at your school.
Awesome. So hopefully you got a little
transfer
chuckle.
student.
Oops, a little chuckle of that. So we had one of our institutions, who is a PeopleSoft institution, by the way, actually created this on our platform themselves. So my role, of course, is to bring these kind of solutions a little bit closer to the rest of and a quicker delivery time, or show through templates and use cases of how the platform can actually transform this. So their before and after looks somewhat like this. They said that their old process could take months. They actually required students to like walk their or send their transcripts over to the faculty, and the faculty would make determinations. Just by a quick show of hands, or drop a note in the chat, who do you use to evaluate a new course that's presented and to make a determination on if that course is equivalent to something at your university? I'm talking about like the new things. Is that faculty for you, or is it someone in your registration and records or your admissions office? Right. So we all know that, sometimes there are challenges getting faculty because they're either teaching, they have a heavy load that semester, or maybe they're not teaching and so they're not connected with systems. By putting it into an automation, the turnaround for faculty to equate in a course is the same day that it was sent to them. And then they actually have a weekly upload process for the student data, but it really could be in real time as well. So this kind of shows that they turned those things around very quickly. They went from a process that was taking months to something that they could turn around within a week. And I would assert that they could probably improve that and maybe have it a same day process all the way around. So what did this look like? In my experience, talking to institutions over the last couple decades, even this institution where I work, they're mostly somewhere along that digital transformation spectrum, right? Some of them are still using manual processes that could be handwritten notes and working documents. It might be in spreadsheets that are saved in network drives. It might be that they're keeping track of that in their document management systems using annotations. Could be a mixture of some of that, some electronic with some level of manual, maybe manual signatures and routing things back and forth between email. And then the only real evidence of that is that the information is stored maybe in a series of documents in the document management, or it might even be in their email application. So today, what we're really going to be talking about is putting it all together in a single platform so that it's routed appropriately. Every step is recorded, and then the automation makes it go much faster. All right, so I am going to start here with a dashboard. And this is a dashboard that a transfer credit evaluation specialist would see. This person would work in this environment on a daily basis, so they would probably be logging into the platform to perform work. This user experience that you see here is built using a digital process automation platform using the screens functionality. So it can be fully customizable to your own institution's branding and logo, and even how this kind of looks. So what we've done here is we've created some quick action items based on Gina in the registrar's office, who is doing transfer credit evaluations. So they're going to be performing tasks like starting a new evaluation, maybe configuring approvers, right, in the various academic departments if faculty is doing it, or maybe department chairs or someone, whatever the rules are, they have the ability to do that. They would be also managing equivalency rules, managing courses within the system, and then importing something. So whether it's maybe being scanned in or imported from the clearinghouse as a PDF of a transcript, that can do that. In the second section right here, this shows the recent evaluations, and we've got various data elements like the students. Maybe you want to see their ID number, their name, what date that the transcript was sent over, and then the status of the evaluation. And if we scroll on down, we can see that they also have access to what we call a collection here for managing who the different rules are for routing those decision-making steps when a new course is presented. And then also having the equivalency table here to manage rules for equivalencies. So if I go into the approvers, this is a pretty simple way. You can search, you can configure the data elements stored here. You can add new records. You can even edit records or delete them. And of course, who has access to this can all be configured by user permissions. So approvers in our demo example today are going to be faculty who work in the various academic departments and perform course evaluations and make equivalency determinations. So if your institution has different groups of people who evaluate, you would use this same approvers collection to determine the assignment based on whatever those values are for your institution. Maybe all decisions are made by a single person in the registrar's office, or maybe there's a group of them, but even again, that can all be configured here and used in the workflow for routing. You can also import this data from spreadsheets, databases. You can use APIs to pull in the data from other, your various host applications as well.
Hey, Joy.
Yes.
We did have a question in the chat. Is the dependency on access to all collections still present with this enhancement?
Oh, hi, Tyler. So is the dependency on access to all collections still present with this enhancement? I will have to ask the product management specifically on that, but I don't believe that is the case. I think, as a matter of fact, I know that's the case because when I was initial testing this, I didn't have access to the approvers, and someone had to go back as an admin and give me access to that collection. So, but I will double check on that for you and make sure that that's correct. All right. No, I didn't. So the question is, did I have access to all other collections once I was given no, I was not. So I do believe that's working the way so that you can control that by user permissions. All right. So if we go back to our dashboard here, let's look at the equivalency table next. So from this view right here, we just see a few recent additions to the equivalency table, but let's go ahead and click on manage equivalencies. And then once I'm inside here, just like for the approvers modules, users can search the different columns and data that's displayed is configurable. You can add records manually, you can edit them manually, or you can also import them from other systems via CSV or APIs. If you're a Lucian, you can do that through Ethos, you can do it through Banner APIs, and on PeopleSoft side, we can use their APIs as well. All right, CSV Imports work as expected in any system. You browse to the local network and then import it. It depends on, how much integration you want to put. What you're going to mostly see here from me today is what I would consider a very low code solution. It's not integrated with any host application very much. We use collections inside the platform itself. So a collection is just like data, little small data sets that are contained within our platform for use. But also they could be, you can either use a collection or pull data from a third-party system. All right, so back on our dashboard, and starting at the top, we see those kind of quick action buttons. What you're seeing here built is a feature in our digital platform that's called Screen Builder. Screens can be forms that you create and post on your website, and a student, faculty, or staff would fill out a form, and then it would route through workflow. Or screens can be dashboards, they can be data entry screens, they can be email notifications, it can be all different types of user interaction steps along your workflow. But here we've created this with some quick action buttons at the top that allow the user to just go right to their common tasks. And so let's just say that this morning, a continuing student drops by our office with their official transcript from another institution, right, that they had attended during summer break. So at this point, we would choose the Start New Evaluation button. All right. At this point, this is a different screen that was built to respond to this is the next step. And it's kind of showing us where what stage of the workflow this particular case is at. So it gives us a case number and that we're right here at the received transcript. You'll also see that at the top, you can reassign various steps to other users. And in this particular screen, we've also got the ability to select a file from our computer, from our local computer, or a network share. So keep in mind, I'm using an example here of a student bringing a transcript to the front desk in your office, but the process could be initiated from transcript in a variety of ways. So transcripts are likely received by the admissions or your records office mailroom. They might be scanned into a DMS or document management system or a CRM. Electronic transcripts can come as PDF. They might be coming as XML or EDI into some external receiving system, right? So this system can import new evaluations from CSV, APIs, webhooks, and various other ways that kind of removes your need to select a file. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going very old school, very analog, and I'm going to select the file here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click select a file. And then that's going to import the transcript into the system. All right. Now, this next step is attaching it to a student. In this case, I do kind of demo this as being connected to a third party, third system that could pull, if you put in the student ID number, you could search and pull in the student name from your host application via API. All right. We can do other ways, but I would suggest API is probably the best way to have this filled out and bring the data from your PeopleSoft or your Banner or whatever host application you're using. All right, so as we scroll down then, we would be entering the transcript data into the form. Now, in a very, very low code, a person would be looking at the document and transcribing that into the form. We do have the capabilities for intelligent document processing. We just acquired a company called DocuLayer, and DocuLayer uses OCR and artificial intelligence machine learning to do a non-template based extraction of the data off of a transcript and place that into the form so that to eliminate the data entry. Okay, so from here, we're just going to be entering either manually or by using the OCR and intelligent document processing to extract the data off the transcript, things like the institution, the session and year, the course number, title, credits, and grade. And so that's done for each course on the transcript. You'll remember that in the past, and maybe some of you, maybe you're still doing it, transcribing courses into the spreadsheet, right? But in a platform like this, instead of the spreadsheet, it has a data entry form that powers the rest of the process with full record keeping, versioning, and audit trails. So it is better than transcribing it into the spreadsheets or whatever you're using. So every step of the way, everything's being recorded, who did it, when it was done, and so that you have full audit logs. You can go back and see what was happened at every step. All right. So, and then keeping in mind that automation can also come if you have these courses in a third-party application, you can import them as well. So admittedly, today I'm kind of showing this rather manual, maybe that middle step of digitization along that spectrum, working in more what is a low code solution. All right. So we can integrate many data points along here as long as there's an API. Personally, I like to start working a process on a platform like this more low code, getting everything working correctly, and then coming back and working with my IT department to do the integrations and add all the bells and whistles. That allows us to kind of let the process mature over time and become more sophisticated. So that's kind of what you're seeing here today. All right, so I am going, now we've got the courses all entered. And once it's submitted, then the transfer credit evaluator would receive a notification. So the notifications come up here in the top right saying that, indicating that there's a new task. This is what's called an in-app. And for Gina registrar, who's working in this platform all day, that's her full-time job. She's going to be in here, and so having those notifications is great. But you can also have external notifications. That might be an email notice or a notice submitted into an online portal. Could be the user noticing it in a list of new evaluations on their dashboard. That's what we see here. So there's multiple ways of creating awareness that there's a new transfer credit to be processed. So if we look here at the dashboard, we can see now that we have a new evaluation in this recent evaluation. It went at the top. All the others were completed, and this one has a status of pending. Okay. And if we click on this case to open it, then I can now see this is again another screen that's been built within the platform to display all of the information. So Gina can see the status of each of those courses after they were run through the matching steps. So in the background, the workflow, the process that was built in the background automatically checked those courses from the data entry screen and against the equivalency tables to determine if something was automatically matched or not. So we have 3 courses here that we're working with. One of them was auto matched and 2 are pending. Okay, so Gina can kind of track and see what's happening here. Now, I'm going to show you, in the meantime, we've sent out some notices. So this is an example, again, that same screen builder that you would build forms and those other like intermediary steps can also be used to send emails to the system, and you can configure them and design them to look the way you want them to look. So in this case, our process was that we were going to let the student know that the transfer credit evaluation had been started for that particular transcript. So in this case, the system is automatically sending those notices. The intent there, of course, would be to keep the student in the know so that they aren't calling your office and they're not wondering, they're just kind of being informed. In addition, at the same time, I have had the system route the next step for those 2 courses that we didn't have an equivalency rule for, and I've created an experience for our student workers. At many institutions, we rely on our student workers to help us get work done. They augment our staff. We wouldn't get the work done if we didn't have them. So the next person in this process is going to be one of my student workers that helps me do research and find course descriptions. Okay, so again, in this particular case, I don't want my students to have to log in, and I don't want to give them access to any of the systems. I just want them to do some research work. So in this case, I've used this system to configure an email notification, and they have just a link. And so they get the email and they click on review course. Now this screen, this intermediate step is just a research place. Now, maybe this person isn't a student worker, maybe it's just someone else in your registrar's office or in the admissions office, wherever it is that they're doing the research portion of getting the course description for those two courses that were not matched. So in this case, I like this ability for me to create user interactions that doesn't give a casual user access to the system, and it just gives them the information that they need. Notice there's nothing on here that would be a violation of FERPA or show any kind of PII. All it does is show the course name, the session and year, and it gives them a place to enter a description and a URL, and then choose a department that would be routed on to the next step in the process. All right. So then an enhancement to, instead of using this manual research screen, an enhancement might be to use an API if you're licensed for the API with something like College Source Tests, or a similar vendor if there's others out there, to obtain those course descriptions. So instead of a user manually researching every course, the licensed API would allow the system to look up the descriptions automatically and return the image with the course description on the form versus having someone manually, do the research. Either way, I wanted to show the capabilities of of something from a low code to something that's a little more integrated with a third-party application. All right, so now after those course descriptions are submitted, the system's going to automatically route to the next step based on whatever's configured in this dashboard as an approver in that collection. Okay, so it's going to route the next step to the reviewer for the appropriate department. So we've got Bianca here, that's in Bianca DeBio in the biology department, and again, this is all configurable. You can configure this into your rules for routing. Okay, so for Summerlin University here, faculty nominees for each department are stored in the system, and then that can be used to automatically route. Yes, our system can be integrated with tests provided that you have the licensed APIs. So you have to contract with tests to get the licensed APIs, and then we would just connect. Because again, we connect to any API for any system. It doesn't, we're system agnostic. All right. So now faculty are likely going to be casual users of the system. It's unlikely that they're going to log in on a daily basis like Gina would to see if they have notifications up in the top right corner, right? So, however, I do think that they check their email office. So in this case, or their email very often, in this case, we've configured the system to send an email to that particular faculty who was listed in the approver collection with a URL to the form. Okay, so we can have the faculty authenticate through single sign-on, Active Directory, so that when they click this button, this URL in the email that they got, they'll just use their single sign-on to log in and then go right to the form. One thing to note about the email notifications, or infrequent users of the system, is that these steps can be configured to resend these notifications automatically on a timer after a certain period of time, like maybe every 2 days, to nudge or remind them to take that action. And then, so that's especially helpful in improving turnaround times, right? And so that your staff doesn't have to remember and look things up and then go remind people to do things. You could also have it, after the third reminder, automatically route to their department chair or something like that. So let's go ahead though and click the URL and see the faculty's form. So in this case, the faculty clicks on that. It's authenticated them in the background, so it's logging who's making this determination. This form also doesn't have any student related data. The faculty doesn't need to see who the student is. They may so in this case, they just get enough information to make the determination, and they have a drop down for which course that they would choose. And then once they've said, yes, that's the course that I want, they can add comments in, and then they can submit it. There's also, you can make another option for, no equivalency determined, or some other particular, if you have other rules to be used, you can add those into this form and the workflow behind the scenes as well. All right, so they click submit. And if there were multiple courses being evaluated, those would all go simultaneously. So in our example, we had one art course and one biology course. So it went to both departments simultaneously. But once all of them have come back in, because again, we don't want Gina wasting her time, trying to check on any things over and over and see if it's ready. We had it send her an email that tells her that the transcript evaluation for Thomas Curtis has been completed, that all the faculty have submitted their various decisions. And then once those determinations have been made, the workflow in the background has started sending out and taking action based on our workflows that we've configured. So Gina gets an email. She can go to her dashboard at this point, and sure enough, Thomas's evaluation now is showing completed. Now, in our example here, I've taken some liberty and I wanted to show off some of the features of the platform that you can use. But I've also had the system go ahead without any action from Gina, send an email to Thomas Curtis saying that the transcript evaluation has been completed. It has also in the background created a PDF of a transfer credit report, attached it to this email and sent it to the student. So in this case, I've got the attachment down here. And then well, let me just tell you, this email that you see here is also created within the same screen builder within the platform. The PDF that gets generated is also created with the screen builder. So you can build based on data that's stored in the system, create just in this case, a transfer credit report we're not a degree audit system. It's just a 1-for-1. This course at this institution equals this course at our institution. And so it's created this PDF. This PDF can then be stored. In this case, we show it sending as an email, but you could have it, you can send it out as a link in a portal. You could send it simultaneously to your document management system for long-term archival, or your CRM. If your CRM holds these kind of things for your admissions department, you can send that back as well. Additionally, I went ahead and configured the system to let the admissions department know. At the institution I worked at, yes, the registrar's office did the transfer, handled the transfer equivalency process, but admissions handled, especially for those newly enrolled student, they were the ones handling the conversation and the dialogue. So we went ahead and sent, the system knew that this was a new incoming student. They went ahead and sent a notice to the admissions counselor saying, here's a copy of what we sent to the student, including the PDF. And then also in the background, without any need for Gina to do this, it added those equivalency determinations that the faculty made and added it to the equivalency rule. So the next time those courses are presented, they would be auto matches instead of being routed around to the faculty to be, and you're doing the same evaluations over and over again. So as for every subsequent equivalency determination being made, your system is getting smarter and smarter over time. All right. So over time, you're going to build robust equivalency tables in the platform that's just going to make everything more automated over time. All right. This is another example of what that equivalency table might look like. Again, the columns that are displayed in the view are all configurable, and you can drill down into more details about each particular record. All right. So that's where we are today with our transfer credit and using the platform. I've tried to kind of show you what this would look like in terms of the end user, in terms of what the users would see more so than the technical pieces in the background. In terms of digital transformation of this transfer credit process by the EDUCAUSE maturity model here is, digitization was moving from either handwritten or using annotations or using spreadsheets and email to manage this entire process. Digitalization would be using an automation platform like ProcessMaker to streamline that process through automatic matching, lookups, routings, evaluations, updating rules engines and knowledge bases so that the system gets smarter over time. And certainly, like I kind of talked about that initial customer, you know, and streamlining their process, moving from like maybe updating student records for a week, you know, maybe they start updating student records on a daily basis, and that's streamlining and improving that process over time. The way that we would really extend this and really do a true digital transformation of this single process would be to extend and add more automation. So you can do integrations via APIs. You can automatically populate host applications, either your student information system, your CRM, using APIs or scripting, if that's something that is the capability of that third-party application. We can connect through your single sign-on. We can connect via API to those third-party applications like TESS. We can add the intelligent document processing for extracting the data and eliminating the data entry. And then we also have some abilities to do process analytics as well. And then the AI, the question is, is the AI component included with the module? It is a little bit separate, but we do, just because we've just added it. So it's new technology to us. And so we've got it separate right now, but we will be building that as a fully integrated system over the next year. All right. So what does, I just want to give you a quick, because I know we probably have some technical people on the phone, but this is a quick screenshot of what the process designer platform looks like. I would say some people might say that it might look and behave similar to Visio or Lucidchart, and I agree, something along those lines. It's a BPMN I think I said N twice. It's business process modeling and notation compliant taxonomy for the various icons that you'll see on the screen. It's all drag and drop. So like if you want to start event, you just drag it and drop it onto the canvas and you start building those out. Now, the power of this is it's using a familiar and an industry standard taxonomy for the way it looks and operates, but then every step on this canvas, then as you click on each one, there's a configuration panel over here to the right hand side where you actually configure it. So if the step is to, you know, generate a PDF, over here to the right hand side, you do all those configurations. And then if one of the screen builder also looks very similar. It's just a drag and drop to build all your forms, all your data entry screens, all your user interaction screens and emails. All of that's built within the platform and contained all together. So anyway, the power of this is that not only are you documenting your process, but you're also creating the application as you build it. And I would say, some institutions, it really depends on the institution. Some institutions have people in what we call funky techs, right? Those functional technologists in the departments, or maybe business analysts that work within the functional departments can build these themselves. And then really the only interaction that IT would have would be to help make those integrations. That would be my goal, is to try to disperse some of that work. Those people in those offices, they're the ones who understand the most about how these processes should work and how the data should be. So this is kind of an example just to give you a quick peek under the hood of what it would look like. And then finally, I want to wrap this up and then we'll have questions. But so a lot of different offerings in the market today. You're going to buy something for dealing with transfer credit, and it's just going to do that one thing. An investment in a digital process automation platform really gives you something to have in your toolkit that you can build really any process across any systems and any users. So when we will send this to everyone at the end of this of the webinar as a follow-up, but I've got a 2-page PDF document that I've kind of fit here into a screen. And I don't want you to try to read every single thing. We'll send you this information. But the point I want you to take away from this is it's a platform that you can build for pretty much anything. Most institutions that we found are building processes and approval workflows in the registration and records area for student facing type activities or faculty, like courses and managing things in the registrar's office. And then also in the HR area is another really popular one. But as you can see, we've had institutions create processes around the entire campus. And the other thing that I think is important for you to know is just kind of consider, especially for you all that, back during the pandemic, one of the schools actually was able to build a process for CARES funding. So they had their, I think it's right here under this one, but built a process for students to request CARES Act funding, and then it was routed. Being able to quickly react to external things that you couldn't have foreseen, but you might need to build a process and an approval workflow. This will give you a toolkit, and your investment for a similar, probably a pretty close to a similar cost for buying a solution that just does one thing. You can have the benefit of having a platform in place that does that, transfer credit very well, but also it gives you something for your toolkit to address other types of requests and workflows at your institution. So I'm going to stop here and allow any questions that we might have from the audience. I've tried to answer the ones in chat. I'm just going to check and see where we are, if I missed any. So I saw a couple of responses on the question of whether faculty do stuff. So, transfer credit specialists can make determinations too. We could very quickly add a step for the transfer credit specialist to make a determination on equivalency. And then if they don't know and they want to route it on to a faculty, that could be, just a slight modification to the workflow. Let's see. And we have someone else said that the associate registrar does that and then forwards the evaluation to the dean. Again, that's just a slight modification to a workflow, so that would be very easily accommodated. And the question is the product mobile ready? All the screens are mobile responsive, so they're not necessarily like creating a true mobile app, but all the screens are built mobile responsive. So they should have, they should automatically size based on the, the sizing of the form factor of the screen or the device. And is there a community sharing platform for ProcessMaker for processes? One where you could post your processes and use at your own risk, license, or download others. So we are in the process right now of building templates to share with our higher ed community so that you can get started. And my goal is to eventually have that. We don't have the community right now, but that is something that is on my list of things to do, because I do love that about higher ed, that, we're willing to share with each other. And certainly, rather than us hand you a platform and a toolkit that says, here, go figure out what to build, coming up with pre-built templates and solutions or things that you could borrow from one institution to another is certainly someplace that I want our product and platform to be. And we are working on that right now. Any other questions? Let me see if I can find in my windows here the actual Q&A. None there. Okay, chat. All right, then. Well, then what we will do, I thank everyone for their time and for your questions and dialogue today. We will be sending out a copy of the recording of this webinar, and we'll also send you a link to that list of ideas and different types of processes that are built on the platform, and probably a white paper. So we'll be following up. Keep your eyes open later this week, either tomorrow or early next week, with the recording and those assets. And I thank you all for your time today. And this will conclude our webinar. Thank you so much.